Hello, hi, welcome back. So this has been a long promised video. It was a ton of work, so that's why it took me so long. And of course, I also don't ever want to get a sunscreen, try it on one day, and then give a review because I don't think that's super useful. So that's why it's taken me a while. Apologies in advance, but we are here and I was going to show you this empty box. This is what I've been holding it in, and then I was like, it's just an empty box. I mean, it's not empty right now. All my sunscreens are on my desk, but this is meant to symbolize the sunscreens I'm going to test and show you. So, as you can tell from the title, this is pretty much like a European sunscreen haul. It's not all-inclusive. I am never going to be able to do an exhaustive haul of sunscreens. Like, it's just not possible. You don't want to watch a video that's 5 hours long. I don't want to make one. So, I tried to get as many that either I had heard of, people had recommended, people had asked about, that kind of thing, or just a few that I kind of saw and I was like, I'm interested in that. So that's what we're doing. I'm going to go through them all. If I have videos on them individually, I will make sure to link them above and in the description below as well. So if you want to get like a fuller, more in-depth one, I will be doing that. And I am going to be doing swatches on my face. I'm not going to be doing like a full face just because most of these don't have a white cast. Just a heads up, these are pretty much all chemical or what we call organic sunscreens. So for most of those, you're just not going to have as much of a cast. So I think that the application is important, but it's not the be all and end all, just because the cast is usually why I do a full face of application. So with that said, I'm going to put my box on the ground. I'm going to put my hair up and let's get going. So I have a few different ones, and by a few I mean 9 or 10 actually, and I will show you each side of my face, talk through all of the details are on the side as always, and I'll let you know my thoughts. So the first one, if I can get a small size, you guys know that I like to do that just for my wallet. I pay for all of these. I have not gotten anything for free, and it just helps. So this one is the SOS SPF 50, and this is the small size. So it's 15 mils, and that costs about £5, I believe. I have it in my notes right here. I don't know why I say I believe. So yes, it costs £5, and then the next size up is the 50 milliliter, and that costs £15. Then the next size up is 200 milliliter, which costs £30. Incredibly cheap, like very affordable. I don't know if I mentioned it's SPF 50. They also have SPF 30. So I'll just put it on my face here. And, well, as you can tell, it's pretty much done. So when I first tried this, I started using it and I was like, uh-oh, I gotta stop because I only have 15 mils and I need to save it for the video. That's how much I liked it. This is a really, really fabulous sunscreen. It's a sunscreen. It doesn't have all the frills. It doesn't have the extracts. It also has a cheap price, and that's part of it because you're just getting the sunscreen UVA, UVB protection. That said, let's go through the UV filters while we're at it. So it has a milloxate, which is one I've not really heard of. It's not available in the US, of course, and that is for UVA protection. It also has avobenzone. Most people have heard of that. That's a very UVA stable ingredient. And then one also I hadn't heard about, this is a newer one to me, it's called Ensulazole. This is a UVB filter. And then you also have octisalate, which is another UVB filter. And then the last one is titanium dioxide. This is the only inorganic or chemical filter in it. You've got 5 really good filters, a lot of them not available in the US, which is why, I had to purchase this from the UK retailer and get it shipped to me. But as you can tell from the application, it's just the easiest thing. It's a no frills formula. They do say that it has soy stem cells. It also has vitamin E and glycerin. Those are pretty typical ingredients. I just like the fact that it's just about protecting you from the sun. And sometimes that's really all we need. In other videos, I've mentioned that I'm not a huge fan of when it's kind of like skincare and a sunscreen. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I think you're just paying extra for it. And I'd rather pay extra for my actual skincare and then get something really cheap like this. So I love it. It goes on so smoothly. It doesn't have overly like a moisturizing kind of feel to it. It's not tacky. It doesn't have a greasy feel. It doesn't have too matte of a feel. It's just like you put it on and you forget about it. So if you just want something no frills, perfect sunscreen, I would go for this. And lastly about this, it has no scent. Okay, and next up we have the Altruist I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. This is SPF 50. So this is also PPD 54, and that is one way to test UVA protection. Sorry, that took a lot to say. And this one is 100 mils, so this was the only option. These are super cheap also. This one was £4, and I think on Amazon when I looked at it, it's £8 for 2 of these. So like if you have a family, this is a great option. The filters in it, we have octocrylene, avobenzone, octisalate, titanium dioxide, and sulazole, tinosorb A2B, which is one of the newer tinosorbs, and again, only in the EU, we can't get it here. Uvenol T150 and tinosorb S. So this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 UVA and UVB filters. That's incredible. Again, this is a pretty basic sunscreen. I will show you what it looks like. This one I feel like has a bit more like moisturization to it compared to the SOS one, but not in a bad way at all. And it does take a little bit more to blend in than the SOS. With the SOS you saw that it just like put it on, it was gone. And this one, it's not really a white cast, but I also have taken like 5 seconds to rub it in. But I would say it's just due to the fact that it feels a little heavier than the SOS, but not in a bad way. And also, once you put it on your face, it absorbs in quickly. It doesn't have any type of exceptional finish to it, so I would say it feels more like just a lotion on your face, and once it absorbs, it's not going to leave it too matte, it's not going to leave it too dewy, just a basic one. Both of these are unscented, which is another great thing about it. I think this one, if you have a little bit more dry skin, I would go toward that just because it does feel a little bit more like a lotion. This one, I would say it's just the bare bones of it. Like if you just don't want any frills, go for this one. It's a really great sunscreen. Both of them are going to give you a very high protection and just going to be easy. Like this is what I would reach for in the summer when I don't want to worry about like the finish. I don't want to worry about anything. I would just go for either of these. Next up, this is LaRoche Posay Hyalu B5 Aquagel SPF 30. So this one is one that I found through kind of like one of my favorite YouTubers, and I guess an idol, even though she is younger than me, who is Jamie Genevieve. She has been raving about this one, so of course I wanted to try it. And it's SPF 30. It is about $30-ish, so it's probably one of the more expensive ones, but you do get 1.7 fluid ounces or 50 milliliters. But look at that. I'll put a little bit more on to show you guys. It's a clear gel, so if you're looking for something with literally no white cast, this is gonna be it. In terms of filters in this one, we have avobenzone Mixoral XL, which is a L'Oreal patented filter, octocrylene, Uvenol T, homosalate, and octisalate. So quite a few filters. Most of those you can get in the US, but the Uvenol T is definitely one that we cannot get here in the US. In terms of kind of my thoughts about it, it is the dewiest of all the ones I'm going to be testing today, and I think this is a really great dewy chemical or organic sunscreen if that is something you are interested in. If you do not want that, this is like your nightmare because it's going to look like this all day. It's going to look like this under makeup. It's a really good base for makeup in that sense. But dewiness factor is like 10, which is a great thing if that's what you want, but just go in knowing that that's what it's going to be. And the other thing about it that I don't love is that it is strongly fragranced, which is the case with some of these. I think that's definitely more common in Europe than the US. I think here people have kind of like complained about that for years, and a lot of companies try to avoid that. So that is my least favorite part about it. I think it definitely lingers more than any other sunscreen that I've tried. And I love the application. I love the glowiness factor, but that scent can give me a headache by the end of the day, and I'm not super sensitive to scent. It does have hyaluronic acid, of course, the name would suggest, and then it also has vitamin B5, which is panthenol. But they also mentioned that it's a minimalist formula. The only thing that confuses me about that is with a minimalist formula, like why would you add the fragrance? That's kind of counterintuitive to me, but that's what we got. They also added color to it, like I just dropped it everywhere. I'm not sure if it's pulling up on the video, but it's this like light blue, supposed to be like the hyaluronic acid, like watery essence to it. silly. Like, I would be fine with a clear or like a milky gel. I don't need the added color. So a few things that I don't love about it, but if you are one of those people that it doesn't matter the scent, that kind of thing doesn't matter, and you want a glowy look, this would be like #1 on my list recommendation for that. So that's kind of it. Not bad, not great. Okay, next one is Apivita. This is called Be Sun Safe Hydra Fresh Face Gel Cream, SPF 50. This one is about $17 for 50 milliliters, so actually still cheaper than this LaRoche Posay one. But when I was buying these, I got them off of this Portuguese website. I believe the name was Cosmetis. You can also go to, what's the other name of it? Hair to Beauty. There are a few, and I'm going to list all of the websites where if you live in the US and you want to get European sunscreens, you can order them through that. And don't worry, I will list them below. But it was one of the more expensive ones when I was purchasing all my sunscreens. And yeah, I was just like, it's interesting. Like, it's supposed to have bee propolis, which is part of what bees make. So I'm testing it out. Now, this one is SPF 50 plus. I think I mentioned that. And let's put it on. So filters for this one, we have Tinosorb S, Uvinol A+, Uvinol T150, Octisalate. So those are mostly 3 out of 4 filters that we cannot get in the US, which pains me because they are beautiful UVA and UVB filters. They just come together usually to form a really sophisticated and high protection SPF, which I love. And as you can see, this one, we're comparing it, I mean, I'm not really comparing it, I'm just doing two sides of my face. This one was the LaRoche Posay Hyalu B5. This is the Apivita one, and I would say it's pretty dewy. It has more along the lines of the Altruist, where it's going to give you kind of like the lotiony, creamy factor. It's not going to last and be as dewy throughout the day as this one, but it's going to give you a little bit more. So this is one I would recommend for more dry skin, both of these really. It does set in, it's not going to be greasy on your face, but I think if you use a lot of it like I do, sometimes it can be just to feel a little greasy if I'm wearing nothing over it. So either of these, I would say I wear under makeup way more than I would just wear alone. Unlike these two, which I think are great alone. They're good if you're just throwing something on, you just want to be protected, but you're not going to put makeup on that day. These two I would recommend more highly over these. So yeah, like I said, I wouldn't necessarily wear this alone. It can be just a little much, especially maybe in the summer. It would be better in the winter if you have drier skin or like normal to dry skin in the winter. And one other thing about it is fragrance. I can't really put my finger on the exact one, but it's not a scent that I love, and it does linger a little too long for my liking. The other thing about it is it has tons, I'm talking tons of extracts in it. Like half of the ingredient list was extracts. So you are paying more for those. And like I've said many times, I'd rather just do that in skincare. If you want to do it in your sunscreen, then this is a really good option because the extracts are spectacular. I'd rather pay less for my sunscreen and get all my other extracts and everything in my skincare. So that's what we have here. These two, like I said, very good, just would not wear alone with nothing else on. Okay, I might have done this on purpose. Yes, I did. These are two French brands. So we have Vichy and then we have Avène. And they're not really like similar. It was fun to do it by country of origin. So this is the Vichy Capital Soleil Solar Eco-Designed Protective Milk. I'm looking down at my notes because this one is in Portuguese. And yeah, I don't read Portuguese, but I can kind of like pick out some words. And again, this is one of those websites that I got from Portugal and they shipped it over, but it is SPF 50 plus. It costs it's kind of weird. I saw like $10 to $17 and that's in US dollars, of course. And you get 75 milliliters. It's pretty big and you're not actually paying that much. So it's a pretty affordable one as well. Okay, so we have Tinosorb S, Octisalate, Avobenzone, and Uvinol T150. Some old filters, some new filters, a pretty good combination. This one has a scent to it, and I can't tell if it's like a perfume or it kind of smells like an old-fashioned sunscreen. I don't hate it, but it kind of does remind me of my aunt and like, I don't know, my childhood growing up in like the 80s and 90s. So scents are not my thing in sunscreens, especially because a lot of these European ones, they're They're heavily fragranced and the scent lasts all day, which I cannot stand. I just don't need that in my sunscreen. But if that's not something that's a problem to you, then this is actually a really great option. I think especially because you get 75 milliliters, it goes on more creamy, it's not as fluid, so you are getting a little bit more hydration from this than some of the others. And then also this like whole packaging is supposed to be more eco-friendly, easier to recycle, less waste, less plastic out there. So if those are some things that are important to you, this is a good option. The only other thing is it does have denatured alcohol, which can be drying over time to some people's skin, can be a little sensitizing. They sometimes put it in formulas and it's at a pretty small percentage, but it's basically to increase the feel and the overall texture and like of the formula. So it's kind of about like the user experience and not just because they want to dry out your skin. That's not what it's intended for. And then of course Vichy always says that they use their mineralized water, which is water. Like, don't pay more for special water. Sorry. So yeah, I think this one's fine. I think it gives you a nice kind of like rich feel to your face. I wouldn't use it as much in the summer just because it's too humid here for that. I like something a little bit lighter in the summer, but if you do have drier skin, this would be something good for you. I wouldn't be worried about leaving the house with this. I think it's not going to be overly dewy. It's just going to be kind of like a middle ground, which is I think the case for a lot of the ones that I'm trying out. I just don't love the scent. That's just me. Okay, so this little baby, this is a 5 milliliter Avène. This is called the Very High Protection Fluid, Dry Touch, I guess. And this is SPF 50 for the normal size, which is 50 milliliters. It's about $20. I got this as a sample, I think, in this package. So obviously that's why I'm trying it out. And it's another one that's scented. I think most French brands, like it's like a very French thing to have scented skincare. Just not my cup of tea though. And this one, I would say out of all of the ones that I've tried, is the most matte. So this is gonna work best for you if you have oilier skin. It goes on and like you actually start to feel a little bit of a tug when you're putting it on. So it is a great option for those of you out there that want something a little bit more matte. In terms of filters, you have Avobenzone, Tinosorb M, Uvasorb, HEB, Tinosorb S. So a good combination of pretty new filters, which are both UVA and UVB. I mean, I don't even say it anymore. Like certain ones are UVA, certain ones are UVB, and you can look that up very easily. But the whole point is that all of these are broad spectrum. They're going to cover you for both aging. They're going to cover you in terms of both UVA rays and UVB, so you shouldn't have to worry about any of that. So they do say that there is a antioxidant complex, which is kind of a mix of vitamin E and thiolidine, which I'm not really super familiar with. But again, don't go to your SPF for your kind of skincare needs. And this one again is scented. I would say this one is actually less scented though than the Vichy one. So the scent lingers a little bit, but not terribly. So in terms of the 3 scented ones that I have, and these don't have an option for unscented, they're all quite different. This one I would go for, it has the lightest scent and the driest kind of matte look. This one is in the middle. It's got a very strong scent, the Vichy one, but it's not gonna be too moisturizing, too matte. And then of course this LaRoche Posay one is gonna be your dewiest, kind of glowiest one out there. And I forgot to mention throughout this video, none of these have given me any eye sting for the most part. I think it's a lot of the newer organic filters just don't do that for me, but I can't tell you that it won't do it for you because sunscreen is so dependent on your own body and your eyes and everything. So that's why I don't always talk about it, because while it might not do it for me, there's a very good possibility it will for you. So it's kind of like too personal to kind of tell people about. Our next one is LaRoche Posay. This is the Anthelios Invisible Fluid, or otherwise known as Shaka, hence the name. So this one is SPF 50 plus, and then you also have a PA+++++, so that's 4 pluses, and you also have a PPD of 46. This is 50 milliliters or 1.7 fluid ounces, and it kind of depends on the pricing, but I was finding a lot of places around $18. I think you can get it cheaper, but it's also sold out in a lot of places, so, you know, you can get what you can get, I guess. This one is scented. Huge mistake on my part, mainly because I cannot use it because it is so strongly scented, but if I were to take all of the scent out of it, then I would absolutely adore it. And you can see that, as the name suggests, it is a very fluid sunscreen, and it just goes on like a dream. I can't get over the scent because it smells like my grandmother, even though my grandmother would never wear this. But it smells like very old lady-ish, and I just cannot stand the scent in a sunscreen. But they do have the unscented. I just made a mistake and got this. So as you can see, it just, like I said, it applies so easily. You really forget that you have it on. This is one of those sunscreens where I'm just kind of like, if you want something like you're starting out, you just want protection, you don't want to have to think about it, this is a great option because it's just like that. I don't find that it leaves any kind of like extra finish, like it's not too dewy, it's not too matte. It just looks good on your skin. As far as filters in this, we have quite a few. So you have Uvasorb HEB, which is not available in the US, sadly. Avobenzone, obviously, yes, that's available here. Mixoryl XL, and then you also have Mixoryl SX, octisalate, and titanium dioxide. So it's a little bit of a blend, but for the most part it is organic filters or chemical filters. And this is pretty much a tried and true one for so many people. Like if they are kind of a sunscreen person, they've probably tried this. And this exact one, it looks like you can get it in the US, but it's not this one. So to get the invisible fluid, the chemical sunscreen like this, you do have to get it over in the EU or in Europe somewhere. It is worth the money though if you just want something that is just easy and no frills. Next one, which is very, very similar to the LaRoche Posay. This is the Garnier Ambre Solaire. I have the one that's called the Ultra Light Sensitive Face Fluid, but they have a few in this range, the Ambre Solaire, and I think they're all going to operate very similarly, but this one is going to be the most fluid. This one, and then there's also like a sensitive one. But they're going to be, if they come in this style packaging, they're going to be very fluid, similar to the LaRoche Posay one. This is also SPF 50+, and it is a little bit, well, quite a bit cheaper than the LaRoche Posay. This one I saw online, it's about £7, and you get 40 mils. So it's probably a little bit less expensive, but not so much so. But it has that exact same really fluid nature to it. Kind of reminds me, both of these kind of remind me of more like Korean or Japanese sunscreens, just because they are so elegant and they go on like a dream. So as you can see, it takes a little time. I always know when I won't have to fast forward through it that it's an easy application. There we go, done. And this one is unscented. I was lucky enough to get this unscented. I don't know if this actually comes with a scented one. Unlike this bad boy, which it's tricky. You have to be careful about like reading that it says unscented or not. But this one is unscented, and I reach for this all the time, even though it's kind of small, because it is just a dream to put on. This is a really good one for reapplication. It doesn't mess with things too much. It doesn't have a weird finish. They're basically the same thing. So in terms of filters for this one, we have Tinosorb S, Mixoryl XL, Mixoryl SX, and Uvenol T, oh, and Avobenzone as well. So that is 4 out of 5 newer UV filters, and then of course Avobenzone is a very old, tried and true one. And the thing about this one is it is unscented, but in terms of ingredients, it does have some denatured alcohol, which it's not a drying thing. If they put like 50% denatured alcohol, then yes, it would be. But it can be over time. Some people, if they have very, very dry skin or very sensitive skin, they might notice it a bit more. So if that is something that you really just like, it's been an ingredient that has dried your skin, this is probably not the one for you. But most of the time it's in there just for the formulation and to make sure that it is as elegant and as user-friendly as possible. So it's not really there to dry out your skin. So don't worry about that too much. So it does have a little bit more of like skincare properties compared to this one, and it is a little cheaper. But again, I don't go for my sunscreen and like try to get all the skincare properties in the sunscreen. If I did have to choose one of the two, I would probably go with this, but the unscented, and only because it's a larger size, you get 10 milliliters more. But this is absolutely beautiful. I love that Garnier has kind of a line that is readily available to people in the drugstore and that functions just like this, but for less of a price. last up, I wanted to do these last because these kind of stay on my face longer. These are, why can't I show you the proper thing? So these are the Evie Technology sunscreens, and I have a full video on them. I will list that above and below. So if you want to get all of the details, of course this is kind of like an edited version of it, but definitely check that video out. It's got a lot of super useful information in it, so definitely check that out. But I'm going to go through these really briefly because you can also get them in Europe, and they are actually, I would say, my top choices. It's very hard in this list because each one kind of does its own thing, so it's really dependent on what you need, maybe at that time in your life, at that time of the year, for your kids, whatever. And that's why it's hard for me to rank them. But if I had to choose one sunscreen right now and I could not buy any other sunscreen, it would be, well, it would be one of these. I don't know which one. Probably this one though. So let's talk about it. These are, I believe they're both $36, but they're around that price for 50 milliliters. You can also get the 75 milliliter size of both of them, and they are a mousse. So we'll show you. We will show you. I will show you. What am I talking about? Shake it up. And I'm only going to use a little because I'm not doing my full face, but you get a little bit, they say a golf ball size, so put that in your palm and then kind of rub it around, but don't rub it in. It's very hard sometimes. So once it starts kind of having that consistency, that's when you apply it to your face. I'll do a little bit more. I'm just going to rub it on my face so you can actually see what it looks like when you do it. So the first time I used it, I rubbed it too much between my hands and I feel like it kind of like died. So don't rub it too much, but what you'll feel like this certain consistency that it comes to. And yeah, it's the easiest sunscreen you'll ever get. So no scent in either of these. Our filters in it are all organic or chemical filters. You have Tinosorb S, Uvenol A+, avobenzone, octocrylene, and Uvenol T150. So a combination of newer and older filters. So Evie does have kind of a proprietary blend of glycerin, dimethicone, and then lauric and stearic acids. So you are kind of getting skincare in with your SPF. Like I said in the full video of this is probably one of the only sunscreens that I would say actually kind of gives you those skincare benefits, because part of their kind of patented technology is also that the sunscreen soaks deeper into your skin than most. Most just absorb into the top layers and they don't really go any deeper. But this one, because it goes deeper, the company says that it actually helps to kind of improve your skin's barrier. So that's the only reason that I say that it actually can help your skin. But that would be through continued use and of course like taking care of your skin in other ways. Okay, let's go with, this is the sport one. I should have mentioned, this is their Daily Defense Face Moisturizer. So this is kind of your everyday one. And this is SPF 50. This is also SPF 50, but this is kind of the sport version. And I can tell a little bit of a difference, but it's not too bad. All right. It goes on exactly the same, but I do find that it kind of feels a little heavier than the Daily Moisturizer one, which is fine. Like if I'm actually going to be outside doing sports or like being at the park, this is the one that I'm going to go for. The other one I go for on a more like everyday basis, kind of your normal sunscreen. But they both apply so magically, so wonderfully. They are unscented, they are unproblematic. I just love them. I can't get enough of them. I wear them all the time. I wear them to work out. And it's one of those things where not only are they really like sweat and water resistant, but they are said to last, I think it's like 6 to 8 hours. So you don't have to reapply as much, or really sometimes ever. If you can make it throughout the day and you're not gonna be outside too much, this can be your one and done. One day, put it on in the morning, then you're done. So there are a lot of reasons I love this. If you want the full breakdown, please do go to that video because this one is like the short and sweet, the cliff notes of it. But yeah, if I had to buy just one, I think it would be this one for the rest of my life. That's saying a lot for me. That's saying a lot. Okay guys, I did it. This has been weighing on me because, you know, I like to take my time and really get a sense of each sunscreen, and sometimes that takes longer, especially when you have 10 different sunscreens. But I hope this is helpful. I hope these are kind of a good mix of dewy, matte, drugstore, not drugstore, ones that are available very easily, or ones that you might have to order online. And I hope this helps some of my European viewers. You guys know I love you so much. I honestly wish I lived in Europe, to be completely frank. And yeah, I hope this helps. If you have any questions, if you want to see reviews on anything else, please do let me know. I try to get them up there, but of course I am using my own money, so I can't just purchase everything in the world. Anyway, give this video a big ol' like. I didn't mention that in the beginning, but please do that. And if you're not subscribed, please do subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.